Hello, hello, hello. I must apologize for the absence of my co-guests. Omega and the other are off doing some holiday shopping as the solstice is upon us. So it has been left to me to try to come up with a little taster of something to make up for the fact that we're not releasing our usual full-length show. Some of you might actually be happy. Oh, good, a shorter episode, something I might actually watch. If you've been holding off just because of the length, this is your episode. As always, this podcast is dedicated to the secret lore of the Time Lords. And if you like what you see, please hit like and subscribe so that we can make some more big, long episodes. But today, I'm just going to give you a particularly juicy TARDIS feature of the week. Have you ever wondered where TARDISes come from? Well, wonder no longer. Listen, and then be confused afterwards. But for today, we are going to talk about the Hyperloom and the Black Hole Shipyards, where the TARDISes are created. The process used to create a TARDIS is one of the greatest secrets of the Time Lords. A TARDIS is not built, but grown. The initial block transfer equations necessary to create a complex space-time event like a TARDIS can only be assembled in a null zone connected to the Eye of Harmony. This null zone is sometimes known by the name Hyperloom and sometimes simply the Womb. The space-time events take the form of complicated coded series of block transfer equations, which define their existence and position across all of space and time. They serve as the foundation for every time ship. The hyperlooms provide the event with these new space-time event with a block transfer connection to the prime Eye of Harmony on Gallifrey. It is this block transfer connection that serves as the heart of the complex space-time event. The event, combined with the Eye of Harmony's connection, forms the extra-dimensional framework known as the metastructure. After being connected to the Eye of Harmony, the metastructure is moved to the neural construction docks at the Gallifrey Black Hole Shipyards to complete their growth. To protect Gallifrey from time pollution, this TARDIS factory is located outside of Gallifrey's star system, and the factory is equipped with filter circuitry to generate transduction barriers. These barriers are also used to prevent the capsules from escaping. Inside the docks are numerous dimensional transcendental cradles, each holding a future TARDIS. The Time Lords alter the metastructure of these events to make it dependent on the symbiotic nuclei of a Time Lord for its ability to travel in the vortex. Without it, the capsule will not survive in the vortex for long. Though long might actually be like centuries, as I recall. It is at this point that the space-time event becomes a viable time travel capsule. So, but a time travel capsule is not a TARDIS. A time travel capsule is, or at least not, all TARDISes are time travel capsules, but not all time travel capsules are TARDISes. TARDISes are a special something. These time ships have abilities well beyond what most temporally active temporal powers in the cosmos have. TARDISes have a sentience about them. TARDIS sentiences are created with a block transfer system using special artificial intelligence code. Now, legend has it that the Matrix is the mother of all Gallifreyan time ships, and that the Matrix has always existed and created the Gallifreyans just so that she would have a point of origin. Now, we'll get into this in a full-length episode at some point in the future, but the Matrix claim of being the mother of all time ships indicates that the the birthing matrices must be connected are probably connected directly to the matrix, and that makes sense. The Time Lords basically use the matrix for everything on every big computational thing they do. But using the birthing matrix, the block transferred AI is rendered and physically formatted into the organic Protyon seed that will become the brain of a TARDIS. Now, these Protyon seeds are very interesting. These seeds were actually created by the science of the mages of the Archons. And the Archons are among the pantheon of great old ones who were the lords of time of the previous universe before this one. Each Protyon seed is composed of basic genetic material of living matter equations. Equations as living matter, living matter as equations. In three-dimensional space, the seed appears to be a coral-like substance, which you might have seen and heard about, as sometimes known as TARDIS coral. The living matter equations lock the dimensions of space and time together as one idea and describe the fundamental principles of movement, travel, and infinite recursion. Every seed that is grown into a TARDIS's protean core is a clone of one of the Archon seeds that were stolen from the Archons by early Gallifreyan time travelers. So, in a sense, every TARDIS has also always existed because of their four-dimensional nature and because they're all cloned from these seeds that predate possibly the entire universe, certainly predate the Time Lords building TARDISes by a significant margin. But you can, just like you could clone other types of living matter, you can clone these seeds. So once they had some, they could make as many as they needed. Being a four-dimensional being, a TARDIS actually assists the Time Lords in its own creation on a more conscious level than simply the way a baby assists its parents by growing. It's a little more proactive. The baby just grows as long as you keep putting food and water in it. TARDISes are a little more thoughtful about how they build themselves. After formatting, the Protyon seed is then implanted in the space-time events metastructure at the Black Hole Shipyard. This seed will replicate itself, forming a tree-like structure of living metal known as a Protyon core. Numerous egg-like Protyon units will hang from the core's branches like fruit, each containing the same coral-like living matter inside its living matter equations inside its shell. We see this thing inside Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, and somebody tries to steal one of the Protyon units. And there's also a coral sample that was in a deleted scene at the end of Parting of the Ways. No, was it Parting of the Ways? It was the one where Rose gets stuck in another universe. This is why I need Sohail here so he can tell me the episode titles. In a deleted scene, actually no, it was Journey's End. That's right. They go back to that Bad Wolf Bay at Journey's End, and in a deleted scene, the Doctor gives his humanoid, his half-human incarnation, Metacrisis incarnation thing, a sample of TARDIS coral that he could grow his own TARDIS with. And that's another Protyon core, or at least Protyon unit there. Captain Jack also has a TARDIS Protyon coral growing on his desk in the hub in Torchwood, apparently trying to grow his own time ship. It appears that coral is destroyed in season 3 of Torchwood, but we never hear it mentioned after that, I don't think. Anyway, These protein cores are programmed with the multidimensional gray prints to define whatever type of TARDIS is desired. Now, you might be thinking, don't you mean blueprints? But on Gallifrey, they're gray prints, and that's actually what they're called. And they are indeed gray, and gray is also apparently the symbolic color of time, so that might be why they chose the color. The gray prints are actually holographically interactive scrolls that you can roll out, and they will project images above them. The gray prints are designed by Gallifreyan mathematicians, and they set down many of the specifications and capabilities of the new TARDIS, including its gender. So, the Time Lords also use a D-bubble flexor, which D probably stands for dimension in this case, dimensional bubble flexor, to imprint a capsule's exoshell with its transdimensional nature by inserting a dimensional bubble. So this dimensional bubble operation gives the capsule its own internal coherency properties. So up until this point, the capsule is the same side on the inside as it is on the out. But the D-bubble flexor basically sticks a whole nother bubble universe right there, inside the exoshell of the TARDIS, or inside its outer casing. So that it's bigger on the inside than on the outside. Then, guided by the instructions from the gray prints, the Protyon core uses warp matrix engineering to grow its interior and exterior shells in these spaces, both in normal space. Sorry, that was the presidential cat. Both in normal, but it grows its interior and exterior both in normal space and in the bubble universe, the micro universe that was inserted into it. The cloister room, with its link to the Eye of Harmony, develops first, but that's followed quickly by the transducer power cells to give it a more stable power supply, and so forth. The interior grows from there. Variable wavelengths are emitted by a status dynamo to keep a partially grown time travel capsule calm during the decades that this process takes. So yes, it takes decades for them to grow the entire interior and exterior. Well, the exterior is probably a little faster than that, but certainly the interior takes a few decades. Once the time scepter is fully formed inside, the capsule is moved from its dimensionally transcendental cradles to the solar workshops, where several pieces of exotonic circuitry are implanted by the Time Lords. So, in a sense, the TARDISes are almost kind of like multidimensional cyborgs. They have this organic nature, but they also have external hardware, the psionic exotonic circuitry installed in them. These implants include the temporal drive and the chameleon circuit. And if the capsule is designated female, it will receive XX circuits, and if male, XY circuits. Because only about 1 in 80 Time Lords are female, it appears that less than 1 out of every 100 time ships are male. At least that's my guess. There certainly seems to be a very big sex or gender disparity there, both in the Time Lords and the TARDISes. So most TARDISes are female, most Time Lords are male. I feel like there's probably a connection there. For what it's worth, male TARDISes are sometimes referred to as bull TARDISes. So once the Protyon units have generated the necessary interior and exterior shell, the capsule is considered to be a fully operational time and relative dimension in space ship. When running in a brand new TARDIS, the operator generally will navigate an already established vortex wormhole, such as a time contour or a time corridor. In general operations, we see the TARDIS generating its own wormhole to travel down, but for testing out the new one as kind of a shakedown cruise, they'll fly it down a pre-existing wormhole that was created by another time ship or a time corridor generator. And this will allow them to check out the temporal dimensions of the ship in a safe way. This is also a good way of testing the engines on low power, since the TARDIS doesn't have to spend energy creating the wormhole. It just has to navigate down it. if assuming it's a shakedown cruise, to get a bit Star Trek here, is successful, the TARDIS is then piloted to a berthing bay in the dry dimension dockyard cradles on Gallifrey and given a registration code. Hey, no, out of the way, presidential cat. So these registration codes can be used to identify which Time Lord is responsible for any given capsule. So there we go. Not much on only a little bit on time lore, but a really juicy and I think fairly interesting TARDIS feature of the week. So if you're impatient and wanted more time lore, please check me out at allthingstimelord.com, and don't forget to give Sohail's stuff a look at Sohail's stuff a look in at Starfleet Boy. You can find him. That term should lead you to all his little bits and bobs. And next week, I promise we will get to Jack in the Wormhole. So, all right. Have a great day, everybody.